So people are feeling both Elon Musk and Tesla's shame. And the question is, will this cause both Musk and Tesla to go bankrupt? Check out these headlines here. Nearly a third of Elon Musk's EV-loving Dutch customers may sell their Teslas. There's been a debate in the Netherlands around Tesla shame. You also have this kind of headline from 2023. So this has been a long-running problem. Teslas, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy. If you don't know, people are have these kind of bumper stickers that they're putting on their cars so they don't get Tesla/Elon hate. A Tesla, I know, I bought it before the Twitter stuff. And if you understand the Elon Musk story, we've been covering it for quite a while. And it is an intersection of our politics, our markets, and our culture all wrapped up into one. And basically, if you don't know, Elon Musk has been promising that his company, Tesla, is going to grow like 50% a year forever, right? It's going to take over the world. His cult followers are like, oh, when's it going to be the biggest company in the world? When's it going to be bigger than Apple and Aramco combined? Basically, bigger than the largest phone company / tech company plus the largest oil company combined. Like they think Elon's going to be the king of the world forever. And this sort of headline just came out just a few weeks ago. Tesla's annual sales fall for the first time in company history, right? So even though he promised crazy growth, they've stopped growing. And a lot of it's due to, well, you have a couple things. One is the competition is here, right? Before, Tesla was the only game in town if you want electric vehicles. You also have the issues of economic slowdown where people just aren't going to necessarily buy cars, let alone buy an expensive electric vehicle. And then you have various reports of their sales declining in various regions of the world, right? So like, for example, in Europe, this just came out today, Tesla sales are sliding in Europe, and it's a problem for Elon Musk. I can promise you he's not going to dominate China, Korea, or Japan, which are also big markets because they have strong local brand sales, right? Be it Toyota, Hyundai, BYD. On top of that, you have the politics stuff in the USA where, and this is not even necessarily in politics. This is just a bad boss. He goes around the office asking employees, would you like to have my babies? It's weird crap. There was one time he promised one of the employees, like, hey, I'll buy you a horse if you do some stuff for me. For real. Like, you hear these bizarre stories and people actually do sue the guy and they end up always settling. You also have these kind of things. He's building a compound for his wives / baby mamas and all his kids. This is an awesome. He had reports of that, offering people his sperm. That was to RFK's running mate. Like, the guy is off the wall. And it's crazy that anyone follows this thing. But again, it's a cult. And then on that, he promises people that you're all going to go to Mars and you're all going to be rich. And they're calling this thing the Gateway to Mars. And this is actually from Fox News. They're even celebrating it. I know, it really is that nuts. And then this is sort of where the bubble is finally popping for Musk. What might end up ending him, which is pretty nuts, is the video gamers are calling him out. Like his fan base of, a bunch of dudes who like video games, a bunch of manosphere podcasts. They're like, yo, you're lying about being good at a video game. So basically, rumor on the street is that he probably paid some dude to, play a video game for like 18 hours a day or for a month or whatever. And he's got all the best items, the highest level character. But when you actually see Musk play the game, you're like, you don't even know how to play the game, let alone where do you find time to play that much? And part of the interesting thing about Musk is that he's got this online persona and this sort of, internet-y meme kind of, figure. And he's also pumped up by this manosphere podcast, right? This is, again, intersecting everything, right? Markets, politics, and our culture. And then recently, this is the headlines today, which is even more insane. Elon Musk appears on video at German far-right campaign event. And this is the kind of stuff that he's saying. He's like, it's good to be proud of German culture, German values, and not to lose that in some sort of multiculturalism that dilutes everything. So basically, he's just saying, German for Germany, that kind of stuff. Germany for Germans. He's also telling people that you got to vote.
Emphasize enough. Go out there, talk to people, convince people, one vote at a time. There's a need for change. It's got to be done. And this election is so important. It's extremely important. I do not say it lightly when I think the future of civilization could hang on this election. So when something is so important, you really need to say, okay, you got to go all out to convince people. to vote for AfD.
Kind of nuts stuff, to be perfectly frank. And it's not just Germany. This is just from Elon Musk just 2 hours ago. This is all on the same Twitter feed just today. He's tweeting stuff about U.S. politics. He's tweeting stuff about British politics. He's tweeting stuff about Argentina politics. He's got the vice president of USA tweeting this stuff out that we all need to have more babies. He's like, let me put it simply, I want more babies in the United States of America. Like, Musk has always got this strange fascination with women should just have more babies. I'll let you guys be the judge of that, but it kind of fits into the culture of the manosphere of, he's really concerned about women have to be this, men have to be that, right? Very strict kind of lines of what people need to be doing with their lives. And you have to understand, guys, again, this is on top of their Tesla sales are not what he had promised before, and his products aren't delivering, right? So this is sort of why he's rotating. And you get these bizarre stories of things he tries to pull. This was just came out this week. Elon Musk sent, quote, pathetic emails begging to get into Davos. It's like an economic, forum where people have a talk. And he's been saying, oh, I didn't want to go anyway, right? So this was the quote from Elon, but they're saying different. So Elon says, my reason for declining Davos' invitation was not because I thought they were engaged in diabolical scheming, but because it sounded boring AF. That was in 2022. But the people at Davos claim, no, you tried to beg to come to come to this thing. Let me read the quote. It's actually pretty hilarious if you read it. It says here, publicly, Elon Musk couldn't care less about attending the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, but privately, he has a history of being the ultimate pick-me guy, according to WEF former head of communications. Quote, this is the quote. The forum is very diplomatic. They've never shared begging emails from Elon Musk when he was a bit younger trying to get his foot in the door to Davos. But they do exist, referring to the emails, and they're pretty miserable and craven and pathetic. So Elon Musk was begging to get in this thing, and then he pretends like, oh, I never wanted to go anyway. But that's sort of why, if you understand, it fits in sort of the Elon Musk persona, right? It's all based on hype. And a lot of it lies, to be perfectly frank. And when you call him out, then him and his fanboys attack you. So that's where that Gamergate thing, video gate thing, where he's lying about video games, could really sink him, because that hurts him with his credibility among that type of crowd. On top of that, Elon Musk is on all kinds of meds. I just saw this. This is December 2024. I guess he's had some sort of weight loss meds. He has some sort of, we'll call this, you got to be careful of the stuff you say on YouTube. We'll say, if you're feeling depressed, he takes this stuff called ketamine. On top of that, he may take a bunch of recreational drugs. It's hurt his security clearances over with SpaceX. And there's also been issues of like, are you contacting Putin without telling us? Are you contacting Xi? These kind of things. Because when you're dealing with, and he takes a lot of government money, like really, really a lot, and highly classified materials, be it his, just pretty frank, his SpaceX stuff basically makes spy satellites, etc. This kind of stuff, like it is really, really sensitive stuff that he deals in. And there's been reports that, his employees have more access than he does, but Elon Musk may or may not be, and this is where you don't know for sure, accessing stuff that he's not supposed to. So who knows? The one thing I will say, though, there have been reports that Elon Musk just sort of pops up in President Trump's phone calls or Zoom calls, whatever they're doing with world leaders. Elon Musk is like, hey, I'm Elon Musk. Can I pop in? It's kind of weird. So all of these things put together, you have to understand, like, this guy is at the center of everything that we're talking about, and a bit odd. On top of that, I always recommend this stuff, guys. If you haven't seen these older movies, this one is called Pirates of Silicon Valley. It's about Gates and Steve Jobs. It's a fantastic movie. I used to require it in class when I was teaching at university. But it just shows a window into sort of like, these people are human. Because sometimes the people who really, really love Musk, they put him as like a godlike figure. As we talked about before, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, was like, oh yeah, Elon Musk is the Einstein of our time. But for people, for real, he really said that. But for people who, understand engineering, understand science, they know Elon Musk is closer to P.T. Barnum / circus clown. On top of that, please see the movie Margin Call if you haven't already. It sort of gives an inside look of sort of like how Wall Street operates and the times of when you're trying to dump bad debt onto other people. Now, we're not the only ones that see it, though. There's a lot of people in our community that see this stuff as well. I want to go through some of your comments from yesterday's video, which are really interesting. This is from Sick Brain, just 32 minutes ago. They say, who is actually buying Tesla now? Obviously not MAGA crowd with Trump cutting EV benefits, not Europe, not Asia with China producing their own, not tree-hugging liberals since Elon pissed everyone off. And this intersects to where, do you believe Tesla stock does it matter to the real world or not? Meaning that, is it connected to fundamental values of the company, or is it just basically a meme coin / meme stock, like a crypto kind of thing? I personally think it's a meme stock. I think it's well overvalued. And if you understand Elon Musk's essentially influence is based on the value of his stock, which could crash at any moment. That's why this whole thing is a house of cards. And if on top of that, he has basically a line of credit where he lives off borrowing using his stock as collateral, but much of his stock is locked up because the judge recently ruled against his pay package. Plus, it's in his contract that he can't borrow against all of his stock. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved with this stuff. I talk about a lot on the channel. You can watch my other videos on these things, but I just want to say this is a complicated issue because you're dealing with the intersection of politics, culture, and the markets. But it's fun to read through your comments and get your opinion also. This is from Emma Jones. Emma says, people are dumping their Tesla cars as well, selling them off and refusing to buy them. They have become stigmatized like those red baseball caps. Catherine says, Musk is abandoning Tesla. Definitely. IMO. So if you have Tesla stock, ... And to me, it's obvious that he's abandoning Tesla. He talks all this, like I showed you guys. This is just today. He's talking about politics in like multiple countries. Like, how's this guy have time to do any of this stuff? He's clearly not interested in Tesla. And part of like what we've all been watching as normal boards at other companies would have dumped their CEO long ago, because you're like, dude, are you going to be the CEO or not? But Elon Musk, remember Tesla and stuff, it's all based on hype. And part of why they don't dump Elon Musk is because without Musk, the stock would probably crash. On top of that, you have Mike saying, in Sweden, we say up like a sun, down like a pancake. It's funny. I've never heard that saying before. If you guys are in Sweden, is that really what they say? I don't know. I've just never heard this before. In Sweden, we say up like a sun, down like a pancake. Interesting. This is from Dr. ZJ. They say, I was a huge Tesla fan, even worked at Tesla for a bit. So this guy was deep in Tesla. I don't think I'm ever buying one. I'm changing my new Toyota for a newer one. My dream was to change it for a Tesla, but not all dreams come true. F Elon. And one thing I want to make really clear, guys, there's lots of car brands out there, right? Not just Tesla. You can get a Toyota, you get a Hyundai, get a Kia, get a BMW, get a Mercedes, get a Ford, get a Chevy, get a Rivian, right? Get a Lucid, whatever. There's multiple car brands out there, and this idea that Tesla's going to have 100% market share, grow 50% a year forever is just ludicrous. And if you don't know, the story right now is Elon and his company are trying to rotate away from cars and say, yeah, we're all going to have humanoid robots. And Elon Musk likes to say, you're going to have a humanoid robot buddy, like a C-3PO or R2-D2 kind of thing. It's so ridiculous, but this is why it's fun to track this thing, because yes, the guy bought the presidency and now he's trying to buy other elections in other countries. And will this come crashing down? That's what we're watching. This is from CD. CD says, Elon Musk has a fiduciary obligation to shareholders to resign all leadership roles he bullied his way into. And Musk has a long history of fighting with other leadership members in various companies that he's been in, and he's been kicked out of a lot. So I talked about this. You can read the book review I did on Elon Musk where he talks about his history. But yeah, he's, in my opinion, yeah, if you're not focused on your company, just get out. And I think he's hanging on because that's the only thing that's propping him up. So that's why this whole thing is nuts. You have numbers of Tesla. The sales aren't what was promised. The products aren't what is promised. And again, he's living off of hype. This is NKA. NKA says, Einstein literally revolutionized our understanding of space and time. There's no exaggeration. That's no exaggeration. What exactly has Musk done compared to Einstein? He didn't even invent anything himself. He is no Einstein. He certainly is no Tony Stark either, as much as he wants to be seen that way. And if you don't understand Elon Musk, he's basically the financier, the guy with the money bags, right? He hires a bunch of people to do the work for him, and then he takes credit. That's how that Musk works. Bill Mueller says, Musk is a con man. All his childhood fantasies have failed. We do not need AI. And basically, all of Musk's design inspirations, especially something like the Cybertruck, come from sci-fi movies. That's the extent of Elon Musk's knowledge. We do have a Musk fanboy. This person says, Carlos says, lots of claims, no evidence. I don't support many of these individuals either, but we just can't show online headlines and glean anything useful. So basically, don't believe the news is what Carlos says. You'll see this kind of stuff from fanboys. They say that kind of stuff. Here's Drunk Max. He says, people can control physical buttons are without looking. That's why they are safer than options on a touchscreen. Imagine driving and wanting to adjust something on your car while keeping your focus on the road. Would you focus better turning a real knob or a digital one on a screen? And yes, for me, when I first drove a Tesla, because I have driven these things, I thought they were fun to drive, but the whole screen stuff really, really irritated me. The screen is in the middle of the car, so it's not right in front of you. So you have to take your eyes off the road to look at the screen. And then to adjust the stuff, you can't like feel it. You literally have to look at the screen and move stuff up and down. And one of the new things that Tesla was doing was putting the gear shifters on the screen, which I thought was a really, really bizarre design choice. So for me, that's exactly what I don't want. Again, I prefer knobs and stuff like that. And it's funny because whenever I bring this, like what I consider pretty basic and logical things, so like driving a car, the fanboys get really, really mad and they say, oh, you just think you're smarter than Elon Musk. So it's hard to have these conversations with people, but it is what it is. I just give my opinion. And if your opinion is you prefer swiping, on something you have to look at and take your eyes off the road, hey, so be it. That's your choice, but I don't like it myself. Dave says, narcissists with power, humanity's bane. Jay says, Einstein was a scientist. Musk is not. Musk just talks a lot. And again, that's based on Jamie Dimon's comments that Elon Musk is this generation's Einstein, which is basically Wall Street trying to pump up Musk so they can dump off the stuff. This is from Bay. Bay says, imagine being a billionaire. You could just shut the hell up and enjoy your life, yet this troll is revealing how much of a fool he actually is. Yes. On top of that, you got this. Frederick says, Tesla PE is 110, about 25 times overvalued. So if you're curious, because how does this connect? Remember, Tesla/Elon Musk's value or net worth is based on the hype of the stock. It is overvalued, and this is based on metrics that measure the price of the stock and how much a company earns. So, for example, you're looking at well over 100, and you can compare that to other car companies that are like more like in the teens, right? It's grossly overvalued. PEG ratios, like the price of the stock compared to the earnings growth, you could argue that Tesla's 6 to 17 times overvalued, but basically it's an overvalued hype stock, and they're not growing anymore. And this is funny when Taryn says, people are basically idiots on all levels. Yes, you've got it. Don't necessarily think that just because Elon Musk has a bunch of money that suddenly he's some magical god. It's not necessarily the case. The guys sometimes can be lucky if you're born rich, right? And this is the thing, like not all of us can choose our parents. So my suggestion, if you want to be like Elon Musk, choose your parents wisely. This is Wombug. Wombug says, it all feels like a rerun of the big crash of 1929. My gut says that Elon's bubble is just about to burst. I can feel it coming. Elon Ponzi will never get his comeuppance. His so-called, quote, wealth is just a house of cards. The, end party salute might just be the tipping point. Yeah, it could be. All these things are coming to head. You got that salute, you got the Gamergate thing, and then on top of that, you also have he's supporting a candidate that is against his cars, against electric vehicles. Remember, the Republicans and Trump, they're all oil party. Musk is the EV. And so if you don't know this, Elon Musk, his company Tesla gets a lot of money off selling carbon credits. So that's pure profit for them. If you get rid of that sort of regulatory stuff that they can sell, there could be in real trouble real fast and lose half of their profit. It's pretty nuts. Plus declining sales, and then suddenly this thing cascades. And as you know, they're also dumping Twitter debt. So meaning that I'm thinking they're thinking Elon's not going to pay him back. And then Elon in an email basically said, like, we're barely breaking even. Revenue is not that great right now. And you guys know is sort of how this game is played. If you're pissing off people from all around the world that don't like your cars, don't like your products, don't like you, don't like your social media platform, how long can this charade go on? And this kind of reminds me of the Edsel. If you guys know what this is, this was a massive failure for Ford. The front of the car, they either called it a horse collar or a toilet seat. And it came out, they did really bad product research. Basically, It was too expensive to be like a cheap, or cool sports car for young people. It was not nice enough to be like a luxury car for older people, etc. They tried to put this in the sort of middle market. And on top of that, there was a recession at the time. I think it was like 1957 when it started, and when the recession hit. And so like people didn't have money, you're in the wrong market segment, and then people started rotating towards smaller vehicles. And so this was the wrong car for the wrong time. And sometimes, guys, products completely fail. And I'm referring to something like the Cybertruck, which I think is very, very similar to the Edsel. If you want to talk about the Ford Pinto, so I'm 49. I mentioned my age because age depends on your experience. This was a massive flop, and or how can I say? I don't know if massive flop's the right word to say, because I don't know if they marketed it as much as say like something like the Cybertruck. And you guys can correct, because this is it's in my time, but it's a little bit before it, because this was actually, I think I want to say it was 1973, something like that. But I know about it because people would always joke about it when I was a kid. It was like a joke among the adults that this was like the worst car ever, most dangerous thing. I think it was because the gas tank was in the back, and like I guess these things caught on fire really easily or something. And yeah, that window's kind of weird and it's kind of ugly. And this, yeah, that was the Pinto thing. And then this is not a Pinto. I want to make sure this is not a Pinto. This is a Pacer. But this was actually in a popular movie when I was a kid in high school, which is Wayne's World. They were driving around the Pacer, which is designed kind of similar as the Pinto, but people were kind of making jokes about it at the time, that kind of design of car. But it all feels very similar to where we are with Musk and the Cybertruck. You have, I would say, if you're talking about what's going to sink Musk, the Cybertruck fail, the Gamergate fail. Someone just mentioned, what was the other one? Was the I can't keep track of all his fails. Oh, the that sleuth thing fail. All the social media stuff, like it's all kind of happening at the same time, and that's why it feels like a big bubble. On top of that, look around what's happening around the world. That's why I try to put this into a bigger perspective. Musk is sort of the figurehead of our bubble, but you got, recession fears in UK, recession fears in USA, recession fears in Germany, right? It's multiple countries. Recession years in Canada. A lot of it's driven by, Trump's tariff policies. Here in Korea, we're talking about slow growth. Right, this was the headline today, or just a couple days ago. South Korea's fourth quarter GDP growth at its slowest pace in 6 quarters. Right, you have a economic meltdown in China because of the real estate thing. Right, we cover this stuff daily because it's all connected, guys. It's all connected. And then on top of that, it's not just Tesla; it's other companies like Apple who are struggling in places like China. I think they're now third place in phone sales. Because like the consumer in China is like, I don't want to spend so much money anymore, and now I have cheaper, Chinese options that are totally fine. And so when it comes to money, guys, this is just my advice on this stuff, and I think it's pretty good advice. Just be careful of the hype out there. There's a lot of hype on AI, hype on crypto, hype on Teslas, and I know it's fun to talk about this stuff on media because you want to be, like thinking about, I want to buy early now and be awesome later, but you're not early. Because this, like say Tesla or the Bitcoins, that's sort of like in 2009. You could argue you're theoretically early on the AI stuff, but I personally think it's a bubble myself. That's just me, because I think there's a problem with sort of that tech bro thinking that with AI we're going to replace everyone's jobs. So then what's everyone going to do if you don't have jobs? So I mentioned before in the channel, I'll just mention again. If you want to go balance funds, that's not a bad way to go. Essentially, it'll mix your bonds and your stocks together. Because bonds, hey, get that fixed return. Nothing wrong with that in this sort of market because what I feel is at the top. If you want to go index fund that captures all the markets, you have to worry about picking various companies, various stocks, and I'm just putting a list on there. There's lots of different choices. Just go for something that is a low fee. That's sort of the advice that is usually pretty good advice. Wall Street's even worried about the housing market, which I talked many times on the channel. They're saying maybe a 10 to 35% overvalued in housing. And then on top of that, this is a key chart, the Shiller PE ratio. You can track this. This is basically what are the price of stocks compared to how much money companies actually make. This is adjusted for inflation. We're sitting at a read of 38.47. The highest read this has ever been is 44. That was the dot-com bubble. Again, you're overpaying for stocks, basically. You're paying too much for ownership of a company when they don't make that much money. And so the only way to really remedy this chart would be stocks crash or companies make more money. And that's the question, right? Do you think people are going to go out and buy Teslas? Or people going to go out and buy, iPhones? Companies could theoretically cut costs to figure out a way to, generate profits and stuff like that. Or they could try to hype up their stuff like what Elon Musk does. But this is something that we track all together every day, and we look for signs. It's hard to time the market. It's hard to know exactly when the very, very top is and when the very, very bottom is. And so generally speaking, you stay invested, you diversify. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, pay off some debt, maybe have some real estate, maybe have some stocks, maybe have some bonds, maybe put some CDs, maybe just hold cash and sit tight. My other advice is just don't take any drastic decisions based on your emotions. Go into stuff with a clear head. And so I try to do these things all day when we go through the news and what's going on. And the thing I think is what gets a lot of people right now is something like Elon Musk. It's just a lot of emotion kind of things. And I understand that in the world of social media and the 24/7 news cycle, there's always something to talk about. And the Musk stuff, to be perfectly frank, in my opinion, is the most interesting, entertaining, and actually most affecting to our lives because it intersects so many of us in multiple countries. And he's got his sort of claws, or however you want to call it, over everything. And it feels like it's a house of cards that when that collapses, what's that going to do to our markets and everything else? So we're going to find out. So I do appreciate your time. Always love your comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.